It's really kind of funny to me how I got here. I would never consider myself a spiritual seeker in the usual sense. I just had a burning curiosity to know all the answers about why we were born, what we're supposed to do here, and where we go when we die. I just couldn't accept the fact that that could not be known. Many of my friends said it's not possible. You can't know it. It can't be known. But a few people knew. So why not us? So I went off on pursuit of trying to know, and I went everywhere I could think of. I read all the masters. Most of them were dead. I looked for people who were living, and everybody I met living, mostly, for the most part, were only talking about things that they had heard or read, nothing that they experienced. Occasionally I would encounter somebody who seemed to embody something bigger than everybody else, but it didn't seem to have any impact on my life. And then 6 years ago I met Sadhguru, and when I met him, when he walked in the room, I thought, uh-oh. Something real has just walked in. What Sadhguru has to offer the world is a way to transform yourself on an individual level. He has the technology to get you blissful. He also has the technology to open up a lot of the inner understanding that we've been looking for, to personally experience it. Wherever you want to go as a human, I believe this can take you there. It's certainly taking me someplace I had never been before, and my hope is everybody will want to experience this for themselves, because it's an incredible journey.
This is a part of the Nilgiri biosphere. This is believed to be the second oldest mountain ranges in the world. This is the land of tigers, king cobras and elephants.
I heard a huge elephant last night. It sounded enormous.
You did.
Are they dangerous?
They're not really dangerous, but because of their size, they could be dangerous for you.
I was thinking about the animals, Sadhguru. They have their own families, their own social structure. Their life's as important to them as our lives are important to us. What is it about us that makes us think we're so special? Is it just some idea we concocted?
It is not our idea. Of course, human beings have grand ideas about themselves. Apart from that, what really sets us apart is just this. All animals are fulfilled the moment their survival process is taken care of. But the nature of a human being is such that only when survival process is taken care of, his life begins. So, the very privilege of being human is just this, that you're a natural seeker, you can't stop at any point. Because your stomach is full, you can't rest. You have to do many more things, and whatever you do, it's not enough, it leaves you as a continuous seeker. That's what makes a human being special. That's what makes his life into a possibility.
Sadhguru, this looking for something else, the seeking, this is something that's been with me my whole life. And in my case, it's felt more like a curse than a blessing.
Yes, it all depends how one handles this. This is the human predicament right now, that wherever you put them, they want to be something more than who they are right now. And this is the basis of their life. This is the possibility of being human. At the same time, this is also their struggle. See, the moment you're born as a human being, there is a certain problem with you. That is, you constantly want to be something more than who you are right now. Suppose you had come here as any other creature in this forest. Let's say you were born as a tiger, then you wouldn't be thinking how to become a good tiger. If you just got enough food for yourself, you would become a good tiger. A tiger is not thinking and worrying, will I be a good tiger, will I end up as a house cat? There are no such problems for a tiger. But once you come as a human being, just see how many things you have to do, and still you don't know where you stand. This predicament has come into human life because nature has given you the freedom to become whatever you want. For all the animals, their lives are programmed as to what they can be. For you, nature left you unprogrammed so that you can be whatever you want. This is a tremendous possibility. If you handle this with awareness, this is your benediction.
But it seems like never enough.
If you do not handle it with awareness, then it is a curse. So what you make out of it is always individual. Now, when I say this, that this can be a benediction or a curse, right now, what humanity is suffering is their freedom, because he is dealing with his life without the necessary awareness. He is trying to deal with his life just the way other animals deal with their survival. It'll not work for a human being. He needs to come to a different level of awareness because the evolutionary scale is such that, Charles Darwin told you that you were a monkey, not me. When you were a monkey, you did not dream of being a human being. Nature just pushed you on. But once you become human, if you want to evolve from here, it can only happen consciously. Unconscious evolution is over for you. So unless you handle it consciously, this freedom, this liberty that human beings have, that they can make themselves whichever way they want, that could be a great curse. That's what you see around you. That is the basis of all suffering that human beings are going through. Human suffering, where is it manufactured? It is all manufactured in their own minds. I'm not talking about physical suffering. Physical suffering could be caused, but 90% of human suffering is mental, which is caused within ourselves. Why would we cause suffering to ourselves? Obviously, we don't know what we're doing. Someone told you, you know not what you're doing. That's very true.
Sadhguru, I understand the confusion about what I want to do with myself, but even when I've had it all work, and I've had it work beautifully, still, it's never enough. So what is that about? Why is it that even if everything goes beautifully, you can't ever settle down with life?
Why don't you settle down now?
Was that all I need?
Let's look at that. Why is it a human being cannot settle down? Many societies, many so-called philosophers and phony wise men have tried to make humanity settle down. They have tried to teach them all kinds of pacifist philosophies, to tell them what you have is more than enough, be content, be settled. But not one human being on the planet has ever been settled. If there's a possibility, he'll explore it. Because the very nature of a human being is such, wherever you are, you want to be something more. If that something more happens, you want to be something more. If that something more happens, something more. So if you look at this, people have misunderstood this as ambition, greed, love, lust for money, property or wealth. No. All that a human being is seeking is expansion. Wherever you are, it feels constricted, you want to be a little more. Whatever you know best, through that you're trying to find this expansion. But essentially you're looking for expansion, not for money, not for love, not for anything. You're looking for a way to have a little larger slice of life than the way you have it right now. But how much ever you have, it's not enough. If I make you the queen of this planet, I won't make such a mistake, I'm just telling you. Even if I make you the queen of this planet, you won't be settled, you will look at the stars. So there is something within you which doesn't like boundaries. There is something within you which is constantly longing to be boundless. Now this longing to be boundless, you are giving it a physical expression, because right now your whole experience of life is limited to the physical, you are giving it a physical expression. Why I'm saying your whole life experience is limited to the physical is, right now your whole experience of life is happening to you only through your five senses, by seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching. This is the way you know life. This is the reason when you fall asleep, though the world is on full scale, your body is on, your mind is on, you have no experience of either the world or yourself, simply because the five senses have shut down. And five senses essentially cannot give you access to anything other than the physical. They can only experience the physical. You can see, hear, smell, taste and touch only the physicality of the world. Everything that you know right now is physical. Your body is physical, your mind is physical, the whole world around you is physical. It may be getting subtle, but still physical. Right now the air that we breathe is physical, maybe we can't see it, but it is physical, we know it has physical properties today. So, the physicality, the very nature of the physicality is, it exists within a defined boundary. Without a defined boundary, there is no physicality. Now, this is a physical body. You call this physical only because it has a defined boundary. If there was no boundaries, it wouldn't be physical. But there's something within you which is longing to go beyond all boundaries. That means there is something within you which is non-physical, which is trying to find expression. If you go by your physical nature, then you will see eating, sleeping, reproducing and dying one day is a complete process. But this dimension within you, which is non-physical because it's constantly trying to find expression and you are giving it only a physical means, right now your situation is like this, you want to go to the moon, but you're on a horseback. Someone tells you, get yourself a new whip and you'll make it. I'm telling you, you may kill the horse, but you won't make it. If you want to go to the moon, you have to get into another kind of vehicle, otherwise you won't make it.
But Sadhguru, even if you know, like even if you've tried everything and it's worked, you've tried love, you've tried money, even if it's worked and you know, okay, none of this is it, I need something inner, I need something else, you're still stuck. You don't know what to do, what happens next. So that's why the seeking drives you mad, because you know how to acquire these other things, you don't know how to go anywhere.
It's better to be mad than dead isn't it?
Sort of.
If there is no expansion in your life, if there is no continuous happening in terms of you becoming little more than what you're right now, either by some action or emotion or thought or in some way, if there is no sense of expansion in you, you will feel stagnant and dead. So, right now, I would say restlessness is better than death. But is that the way to live? Definitely not. There is another way that you can come to ease with life. You will come to ease only when you begin to taste that which is beyond the physical. Through the physical, trying to become boundless is like counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and hoping that one day you will say infinite. We cannot handle the boundless through the limitations of the physical. So your perception has to go beyond 5 senses, only then the non-physical enters your life. If your experience of life transcends the limitations of the physicality, then we say you're spiritual. That's what it means to be on the spiritual path. That somewhere, at least for a moment, your experience of life has transcended the limitations of physical.
Sadhguru, the seeking for me, it's been two things. It's been the can't stand not knowing, but it's also the how do I do something with myself? And I wondered from the time I was young, how did there few people do something more with themselves? And then one day Autobiography of a Yogi showed up and it looked like yoga was a way you could actually become something else. So I tried all this yoga. I tried the yoga from Autobiography of a Yogi and I tried Tibetan Buddhism and Vipassana, and for years I tried different practices, and even nothing, I could never make anything really work like it was gonna… in my core I felt like I needed a way in, but nothing really worked until I got here, and suddenly something is catching fire, and I don't understand, what is this? It's something alive now, and it doesn't even seem that different from some of what I've done before, but it's different, it's hugely different, so what is it? And what is it about you? I hear you sit on a rock and, you know, you're enlightened, and I'm banging my head against the wall for 30 years and nothing. So, what, you know, do I have bad astrology, the wrong stars? What, you know, what is it? So, how'd you do it?
You're asking me, am I the chosen one or something?
Sort of.
Fortunately, no. Sun came up in the morning. Did it choose on whom the sunlight should fall and whom it should not? The breeze is blowing. Does it choose who should benefit from it and who should not. So the way of the existence is such that it doesn't choose. But still, who benefits from the sunlight, who benefits from the breeze, all depends on that individual. Unless you do the right things will not happen to you. Long time ago, Noah predicted there's going to be a flood. Now Al Gore is doing it. See, I listen to their predictions and see, I'm sitting on a log, I'm safe in case the flood comes. You're sitting in a rock.
I'm stuck again, see? I'm sinking.
That's a choice you have, always. So unless you do the right things will not happen to you. Both of us may say the same things, but what we take out of it is still individual, isn't it? So this is the freedom that a human being has, that he can make every moment of his life a doorway to the beyond, or he can make every moment of his life a barrier and a hurdle and a bondage in his life. So the very yoga that you do can become a bondage if it is not given in its live form. You bending and twisting every day in the morning is quite a bondage unless it is alive. When I say it's alive, I'm talking about subjectivity in the spiritual process that cannot be done in a yoga studio, that cannot be done in uncommitted atmospheres. This is the reason why in this tradition, in this culture, there has been such an emphasis on a live guru, because just teaching a method is not enough. The method has to be alive. Alive means you have to infuse life into it, otherwise it'll not work. When Patanjali gave the Yoga Sutras, the word sutra literally means a thread. Yoga Sutras are the greatest document on life on this planet really, if you look at it that way. But it's a scientific statement, so it doesn't come out as a religious book, it doesn't come out as a scripture, but it is like a scientific statement, series of formulae, that's what it is. So he gave it in the form of sutras. Sutra means a thread. Now, you wear a garland, there is a thread inside, but you never wear this for the sake of the thread. You wear this for the sake of the fragrant flower that the thread binds. He gave you only the thread. You're supposed to make a garland out of it. You need a being who knows his own interiority to make a garland out of it. If you just wear the thread,
You're threadbare.
you're threadbare. You can add flowers to it, you can add pearls to it, you can add diamonds to it. That depends on what you have within you.
And it's almost like there's life that's been
There is
breathed
life.
into this.
Yes, there is life in it. Yoga is the science and technology which allows this human mechanism to function at its ultimate possibility. To use this mechanism as a stepping stone to go beyond the limitations of the physical, to know life in its full depth and potential. So, it has to be transmitted, not taught. It has to be transmitted as a live process. If it is taught, the same things are taught as an instruction or a bundle of instructions, it doesn't work that way. So that difference I think you have experienced in the last few years.
Sadhguru, so what happened to me when I came here, I was on 4 prescription medications, one for insomnia, one for hyperthyroidism. I couldn't walk across the room without all the blood rushing out and feeling like I was going to faint. And then I met you, I do these practices, and in 3 months, all the prescriptions drop, and I go back to the doctor.
I thought I told you 3 months is enough to get you out of that mess.
You did tell me 3 months, but I didn't believe that 3 months could really do it. And even without believing it, doing the practice, 3 months still, it was almost like a miracle that suddenly I don't need the prescription drugs to sleep. I go to the doctor and he does my blood work. He's got me on this thyroid medicine to keep my blood pressure from being too low. It was a high risk for heart attack, and he gets my blood and it's normal. And he's not a New Age crystal gazing doctor. He's a, hardcore endocrinologist, very well respected. And he comes in with my blood work and says, "This is astonishing. This is astonishing. This is astonishing. I've never had anybody as hyperthyroid as you were get this well this quick." And he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm doing this yoga." And he said, "I should do it." I said, "Yes, you should do it."
Yes, he should.
But I tried everything else before to straighten all these things out, and nothing worked. And I didn't come here for my health, but yet my health in 3 months, it just got completely normal. So I couldn't sit cross-legged. 5 years later, I can, it's like I'm younger than I was 5 years ago. So.
How old are you, Cheryl?
Too old. You're not supposed to ask a woman how old she is.
Don't tell me. So is this a miracle? There are two ways of looking at life. You can look at every piece of creation. If you carefully look at it, if you logically look at everything, with all this science and technology that we have explored, we still don't know how a single leaf in this forest works. You search the whole forest, find 2 leaves exactly the same way, you will not. They're different. So, just everything is a miracle. How the soil is becoming a plant, plant is becoming a tree is becoming a flower, flower is becoming a fruit, fruit is becoming a human being. Isn't this a miracle?
Yes.
Is there anything that's not a miracle around here? Everything is a miracle, isn't it? That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is, nothing is a miracle. Everything in the physical existence is happening between cause and effect. People have become short-sighted, they are unable to see the cause, they only see the effect. They either enjoy or suffer the effect, they are unable to see the cause. But without a cause, can there be an effect? For everything that you see, there is a cause. So the process of creation is happening not haphazardly, it is happening between cause and effect. If your involvement is limited, if your perception is limited only to the effects of life, then you live like any other creature on this planet, being thrown around by the process of life, not understanding, not being able to manage your life the way you want it. But if your perception is deepened to see the cause, then you can create your life the way you want it. Right now, what did you have for breakfast?
A dosa.
A dosa. A dosa is like a pancake. So look at this, you ate this dosa in the morning and over the morning it is becoming a human being, isn't it? Isn't the dosa being converted into a human being? What you call as my body is just an accumulation of that, isn't it? Even if you eat a banana, it becomes a human being. If you eat anything, if you eat a chicken, it becomes a human being. According to Charles Darwin, tell me, how long does it take for a chicken to become a human being? I don't know how many million years he would say, but now over the morning or afternoon, you're managing to do that. So this miracle that if you put a banana, it turns into a human being, this miracle is possible within you because the very source of creation is functioning from within you. Your body did not get created from outside, it is happening from within. The manufacturer of this body is inside, not outside. You may be providing raw material, but the manufacturer is inside. So if you have a repair job to be done on your body, would you go to the manufacturer or to the local mechanic?
But this source of creation's been there the whole time, right?
Yes, but I am asking you, would you go to the manufacturer or to the local mechanic?
Definitely the manufacturer.
Yes, but why didn't you go? Because you lost access.
I didn't know how to go.
You lost access. If you had access to the manufacturer…
But lost, did you ever have it to begin with? Was it lost or is it actually lost or never known?
See, you know it's happening, right?
You know something's happening.
It is happening. Whatever you eat, whether you eat a piece of bread…
Yes, I know
or
that
a banana or a dosa, it
Right.
is being converted
Yes.
into human body.
Yes.
So, the manufacturer is busy working, but you ignored him because you're too busy with what's happening around you. You ignored him so much that it looks like he's absent. But if he was absent, would this happen?
No.
So, Yoga essentially means this, that is, from being just a piece of creation, you move to become the creator. If you live on the surface, you just live as a piece of creation. If you go to the core, you are the very creator himself. So this is a choice you have. Either you exist here just as a piece of creation, pushed and pulled by the forces of life, or you exist here as a creator, creating your own destiny, making your life happen. So, what was diagnosed as a disease that you have to live with for the rest of your life is gone in 3 months. Is it a miracle? No, it's not a miracle. It's just a little deeper understanding of life. You learn to do things the right way.
But it wasn't on the level of my mind that this fixed.
No, it is not on the level of your mind at all. It's not on the level of your mind. When you say my mind, my body, obviously there's something more than your mind and body, right? There's something called as me. What is that me? Where is it? Do you know?
Not really.
So you don't know where you are, so how to fix yourself? So yoga is just like a GPS system trying to locate you where you really are.
So this source of creation, it really is something that can be known?
People are trying to know the very cosmos. They're sending spaceships all over the place trying to know. But what's happening with that way of doing things is, see, 1,000 years ago, if you looked up at the sky in the night, you would have seen maybe… once I counted, I don't know how many you counted. When I was young, I sat down and counted and counted and counted how many stars in the sky. I went up once to 1,700 from one segment and I couldn't count the rest, so I segmented the rest and I assumed maybe about 7,000 to 8,000 stars in the sky that we can see. But people say through the naked eye you can see somewhere between 12 to 15,000 stars. I haven't seen them, but they say haven't counted them at least. So we thought there are about 10 to 15,000 stars. So we wanted to have a closer look at them and we made all kinds of powerful telescopes. So what's happened to us now is, now we know there are over 2 billion stars. Tell me, is the world getting more mysterious or less?
Both.
With all this exploration, it should have brought clarity, but all it's brought is much more confusion than ever before, because you're trying to know the existence from the outside. If you turn inward, beyond your sense perception, if you turn inward, then the very process of creation is happening within you. Everything is happening within you, that this body is being created all the time. So if you know this mechanism, if you know this piece of life, absolutely, that's all I know. I have not read any scriptures, either of the East or the West. All I know is, I know this piece of life from its beginning to its ultimate. If you know this piece of life, you know almost everything that's worth knowing, because the way this piece of life is made, that is the way the whole cosmos is made. This is just a miniature version. If you know this, which is easy to know,
Not
because…
so easy, not so easy.
When you say it's not so easy, it is because you're trying to know the nature of life, but you want to dissect a frog, a cockroach, any animal that you see, you will not know it that way. You are life, aren't you? Are you life? You'll say, no, I'm a woman, I'm an American, I'm this. No, you're not all that, you are just a piece of life. All that is incidental. The essential thing is you're a piece of life. If you want to know life, do you have to dissect a frog or do you have to look inward? Which is a better way?
Inward.
Which is a more intimate view of life?
But it's not so easy after your attention's gone out so far to all of a sudden try to look in. You don't know what you're doing trying to look in.
That's simply because right now your perception is completely limited to the sense perception. Sense organs are essentially outward bound. You can see what is outside. You can't roll your eyeballs and scan yourself. You can hear this, but you can't hear all the activity that's happening within you. If an ant crawls upon your hand, you can feel it, but so much blood flowing within you, can you feel it? No. So essentially, sense organs are outward bound. You cannot use them to turn inward. Sense organs turned on the moment you were born because they're instruments of survival. If survival is all you're seeking, then sense organs are sufficient instruments. But now you're longing to know something beyond the physical. You're longing to know the very nature of your life. You're longing to know the very origin of your life. Now sense perception is not good enough. There are other dimensions of perception which have not been turned on within you because they are not instruments of survival. They don't get turned on with birth. You have to strive, you have to consciously pay some attention to them, otherwise they don't get turned on. So with the simple yoga that you're doing, that's all we did with you. Turn on other dimension of perception, suddenly you have access to the source of creation within you, and in 3 months your disease is gone. It's not a miracle. It is just a deeper understanding of life and a more profound way of living, that's all.
Sadhguru, I'm kind of confused. Lots of times I want to make something happen and I do everything I can and I don't take no for an answer and it happens. Other times I do everything I can and it still won't happen. So are there things bigger than me at control, or is it still me doing it, or how does it actually work?
Whenever things don't happen the way you want them to happen, there is a temptation to think and name it as destiny. Because this is a way of dealing with failure. This is not destiny, this is just cheap psychiatry. You're trying to solace yourself to your present condition. If you want to make any situation the way you want it, outside situation, there are a million different ingredients here. Not all of them are you even aware of. Today, science can prove this to you, beyond any doubt. The way you're perceiving life right now through your sense organs, it is only enough for your survival. It is not enough to master your destiny. Today, modern physics and the neurosciences clearly telling you that whatever you're perceiving through 5 senses are not the way it really is. Here, sun is just setting. For your eyes, it is just going to be dark in a few minutes. But there is a whole host of creatures in this forest. For them, the day begins. So what's light for you is darkness for them. What is darkness for you? Do you hear them waking up? They're saying good morning.
Getting started.
So what is darkness for you is light for them. So, sense organs are sufficient instruments for survival only. With that, you don't master your destiny. Because if you want to create a situation the way you want it, you have to have some mastery over your life energies. Because ultimately, the whole existence is energy. You can never logically figure out every aspect of life around you.
But a lot's happening out of our mind. We want to go on this course, we set it, and our mind takes us there, right? I mean, it starts with that.
I already told you, if you have mastery over your mind, 50 to 60% of your life will be in your controls. 50 to 60% of your destiny will be decided by you. And that's all. Still there's another 40% that you don't like.
Okay, but when you said, okay, what you were doing with these practices was introducing you to the Creator, basically, inside yourself, but it doesn't… that's not clear. You do the practices, suddenly your health straightens out. You're not clear you're making this introduction. I mean, it's still hard to understand what's happening.
See, whatever situations you're living in, you need to understand, to be human means that you can mold the situations the way you want it. You are not molded by the situations, you are molding the situations the way you want it. But today, most people in the world are molded by the situations in which they exist. That is simply because they're existing in reaction to the situations where they were placed. So their question will be, why was I placed in such a situation, first of all?
That's the first question.
Yes. Is it my bad luck? Is it my destiny that I was born to such parents? Is it my destiny that I am born in such a country or this part of the world or that part of the world? Everything that you know as myself today is just an accumulation of impressions and physical body. What you accumulate can be yours, can never be you, isn't it? So what is you is yet to be introduced to you. It is yet to come into experience, it is in an unconscious state. You're only conscious of small parts of your accumulation. You're not even 100% conscious of what you have accumulated. So you are trying to live your life through your accumulations. You're trying to live your life through what you have gathered, not through who you are. Now, because of the type of accumulations you have developed certain tendencies, so naturally you move in certain directions. Today, science has proved to us, beyond any doubt, that the whole existence is same energy. The air and the water are actually same energy, yes?
Yes.
H and O are here. When they gather together in the right proportion, H2O,
Right.
this is it.
Right.
Very different, isn't it?
Yes.
Look at the water body, look at the air, very different. Here you can breathe, there you cannot breathe, you'll drown. So now water has certain tendencies. Right now, people believe and eulogize this usually, that the river's destiny is ocean. River's destiny is not ocean, river has no destiny. Because water, because it's H2O, because of a certain gathering, it has acquired a certain tendency. So it is always trying to find its own level. Because of that, it's moving in a certain direction. Here we are, this river or this bunch of streams have been dammed. Do you think the water which is dammed here and is right here right now is screaming, I want to go to the ocean?
Probably not.
It is not screaming that it wants to go to the ocean, it has no idea what is the ocean. It is not longing to go to the ocean. But if you open up the dam, naturally it may go. That is because of the tendencies of the water. Similarly, you have acquired certain tendencies depending upon what you have gathered within yourself. What type of impressions you have gathered, accordingly you have gathered tendencies. It is not that this cannot be changed. This water is trying to go to the river, always flowing downward, isn't it? If evaporation happens, suddenly the water moves upward. Isn't it defying the law?
So we can change…
Similarly, whatever your current tendencies are, if you do certain things with yourself, you can completely change that. In 24 hours' time, you can completely rewire yourself. irrespective of your past experience of life,
Completely.
your genetics,
Completely.
your DNA, yes.
In
Irrespective
24
of who
hours'
your parents were, where you were born, where you grew up, irrespective of all that, you can completely rewire yourself in 24 hours' time. I can show you any number of people who have become like that, totally transformed. That's what we mean by transformation. We're not talking about change, we're talking about transformation. So, what's wrong with the way I am? Nothing wrong. If you ask me, what's wrong in being limited? Nothing wrong. It's just limited, that's all.
I'm not asking that.
100 years ago, whatever they believed as their destiny, many of those things, we have taken them into our hands, isn't it today? Varieties of diseases, infections, deaths. All these things we believed were destiny. If 1 million people died of Black Plague, we thought it's their destiny, it's God's will, isn't it? They even told you, your marriages were made in heaven. You don't believe that anymore, do you?
Maybe once.
So, so many things you believed because that's what they told you, but many things that you thought was really destiny, out of control, determined by God or somebody else up there, today all those things are in your hands because we have taken charge of a few things. So what we call as technology today is just this, that within the laws of nature, everything that could be taken charge of, someday we will take charge of it on the outside. So when I say inner technology or inner engineering, that's all I'm saying. Everything that this life is naturally happening to a certain law. If you understand, if you perceive and if you know what is the nature of life within you, you can take charge of it completely the way it happens. If you take charge of your life completely the way it happens, your physical body, your mind, your emotion and the life energies, if you take charge of it, then would you let any unpleasantness happen to you?
Never.
Unpleasantness is happening to you in the form of anger, fear, anxiety, stress, because your basic faculties like body, mind, energy, emotion, nothing takes instructions from you. They're doing their own things, as if they don't belong to you. They must be doing… Your mind and your body is here to serve the life within you. But right now, the life within you is enslaved to your mind and your body. This is a complete distortion of life, the way it should function. You're trying to handle life topsy-turvy, upside down. So no wonder so many things are out of control. Even if things are in control, you're still anxious.
Sadhguru, why is it running on its own, the mind, and I mean, where did all this… how did I start it, or how did it get started?
Every moment of your life, whether you're awake or asleep, moments of sleep and moments of wakefulness, everything that comes in contact with your five senses is recorded within you on many different levels. On the level of your mind, on the level of your body, on the level of your chemistry, on the level of your very energies, it is recorded. These are the backup systems so that you don't lose your software. This software is what traditionally people are referring to as karma. Karma means a certain accumulated mass of information which has now formed its own tendencies. Here in the East, in India, we refer to these tendencies as vasanas. What vasana means is, literally means smell. So what kind of garbage you have in your head, that's a kind of smell. Accordingly, things happen to you, that's the kind of life you attract towards yourself, that is the direction in which you go. So, this is accumulated impressions.
So
it is a software that you wrote for yourself unconsciously. Whatever you can do unconsciously, you can also do it consciously, isn't it? So if you start writing a conscious software for yourself, definitely you would write a software of blissfulness and of liberation, not of bondage and misery. You would not cause any kind of misery to yourself consciously. So, essentially the problem is just that you're unconscious of many aspects of life within yourself. You're trying to conduct your life without understanding how this human mechanism functions, what it is about. It is just like you got into your car, you don't know what these three pedals are. In America, you have only two, yeah? Okay. You don't know what these two pedals are. Whenever you feel like it, you kick any one of them. You know what a jerky driver you will be?
Terrible.
Right now, isn't your well-being that jerky?
Sort of.
It is, isn't it? You went outside, someone told you, you are the most wonderful person on this planet.
You feel
You are
happy.
floating on cloud, what number?
9 at least.
Only 9? In India, we do it on the 11th one. So you came floating on that cloud, you came home and people at home told you who you really are and it crashes.
Crash.
So your well-being is so fragile. Your sense of happiness, your peacefulness, everything is so fragile. People say, if you sit next to a still lake, you will become peaceful. The still lake doesn't know what is peace, I want you to know this. Peace, or there's too much talk about peace, is a concoction of disturbed minds. Too many disturbed minds, so they're making up this whole business of peace. You don't have to do anything to be peaceful. If you don't mess yourself, you are peaceful. How else to be? I don't know how else to be.
You haven't got yourself all stressed out.
So now, if the still lake is giving you peace, so all I have to do is take a pebble and throw it into the lake and you're finished. How fragile it is. Now you make yourself in such a way, if you sit here, if the lake doesn't know peace, the lake should become peaceful because of your presence, because these are all inanimate objects. But here, the very source of creation is becoming conscious. I'm not saying it is not there, it is there also, but in a different form. Here it is much more possible to access. Once you have access of that, your presence settles everything around you. What is around you doesn't settle you. Right now, if they want peace, they go to the top of the mountain, a lake or an ocean. No, wherever you go, that whole place should become peaceful. We have sayings like this in India, if one being gets enlightened, the whole world will experience peace. When there are poetic ways of expression. When certain yogis got enlightened and they walked through the forest, the trees bloomed out of season.
So does it, one enlightened being affects the whole creation in a positive way?
Definitely he does. Definitely he does. If you have a small percentage of them, the world would change dramatically. That's what we're trying to create. That's what we're working for, to create at least a small percentage of them. If you create a small percentage of beings who are totally in charge of the life process within themselves, their very reverberation that they create, they can bring peace to the world. At the same time, I'm not talking about peace in terms of war and peace. Even if there is no war, there is no peace in human mind.
It can create all kinds of chaos.
Yes, there is a war being waged upon yourself within yourself, isn't it?
Regularly.
If that is taken off, there is peace. If there is no violence in you, the possibility of violence on the planet is remote, isn't it?
Definitely.
We are always trying to fix the world. Our ideas of revolution is always about fixing the world. We have fixed the world substantially. If you fix it anymore, there'll be no world left. That far we have gone. However much you fix the world, still human beings are not happy because we have not done anything about fixing the interiority. There is no universal salvation without individual salvation. There is no universal transformation without individual transformation. If you, me and one more person are transformed, a small piece of the world is transformed. This is the only way it can happen. It cannot happen from somewhere else. It can only happen from within. So when we talk about spiritual processes, we are not talking about going to temple, mosque or church. We are not talking about looking up or looking down or looking around. We are talking about looking inward, which is a completely different dimension. All your life you looked outward. Look at the irony of it right now. Let me tell you something. This moment you're sitting here, do you see me? Where am I?
Right here.
Where?
Right here.
Here. Not true. This light is falling upon me, reflecting, going through your lenses, inverted image in the retina, you know the whole story. So where am I right now?
Right here.
Yes. So you see me inside of yourself. Where do you hear me?
Inside of
Inside of
myself.
yourself. Where are the mountains? Where are
guess
the
I'm
mountains?
seeing them inside of
Inside of
myself.
yourself. Where is the lake?
So that's like
inside
some-
of yourself.
This is like some
So,
hologram?
have you seen anything outside of yourself?
I guess not.
You have not. Your whole perception has always been within yourself. But now the problem is, your sense organs are outward bound. So your sense organs never give you access to the internal, but your whole experience of life is internal. This is the struggle. This is the reason why people are not in charge of their lives. This is the reason why people think their lives are being run from somewhere else.
But for me, for 30 years, I've known I wanted to go inward and I've had no luck.
Nobody ever does it by luck.
Well, even with effort, it didn't work.
Let me tell you a joke. You know, our center in Michigan, if you go there in winter, one of the sport for people is ice fishing because the Great Lakes freeze and people go cut a hole in the ice and do fishing. So on a certain day, an old-timer went ice fishing in the peak winter time, just around Detroit. So he cut a small hole, sat down, put his line and sat down there with a crate of beer next to him because fishing is a patience game. So he waited the whole day. The beer cans got emptier and emptier, he got little dizzy, but no fish. Went morning 10 o'clock, already 4 in the evening, still not a single fish. But it doesn't matter, fishing is not about fishing. Fishing is about killing time and drinking beer. But then at 4 in the evening, a boy from downtown area with a huge boombox on his shoulder, blaring rap music, came jiving like that and came sat down close to the old man, somewhere little away, at a little distance from the old man, cut a hole, sat down for fishing. He put his line. The old man looked at him. No fool like a young fool. Both of us agree. I've been sitting here the whole day quietly and I have not caught a single fish. And the fool comes with blaring music and he hopes to catch fish. And he ignored him and focused on his fishing. To his amazement, within 10 minutes, the boy caught a huge trout. He landed a huge trout and it went into his basket. He couldn't believe this. He looked at him. Then he thought, ha, flash in the pan.
Luck.
Ignored it and focused on his fishing. But in another 10 minutes, the boy landed one more trout. Now he could not ignore him. This is not luck. He just sat there looking at the boy. The music was blaring, the boy was jiving, sitting down, and in another 10 minutes he landed one more trout. Now, he kept his he kept his pride aside and slowly walked down to him and asked, I've been sitting here the whole day and not a single fish. In 30 minutes you have 3 wonderful trout in your basket. What is this? What is the secret? The boy lowered the music and said, roo-ra, 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 ra, rough. Said, what? The boy repeated, roo-ra, 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 ra, rough. The old man said, I don't understand what you're talking about. Then the boy spat out a blob of something into his hands and said, you have to keep the worms warm. You got to do it the right way, otherwise it won't happen. So you sitting there the whole day, that's not the point. You have to do the right thing, otherwise life doesn't work. It doesn't matter who you are, life doesn't work for you unless you do the right things. Always people who believe that they're good people are always wondering why it's not working for them and why it's working for someone else. Whoever does the right thing, for him it works. The existence is not judgmental. So you're a good person. So, even if you don't water the tree, will it grow? You're a bad person. If you take care of the tree, will it grow? So good, bad, all these things are in your head. These judgments are essentially human and socially conditioned. In every society, they have their own idea of what is good and bad. But the existence is treating all of us the same way. Whoever is receptive right now, he gets the bounty of life. So the whole aspect of yoga is to make you receptive.
What does that mean, though?
When I say receptive,
What does it mean?
what is being receptive? I don't know how many years ago you heard of Isaac Newton. He saw an apple falling down. And that's a great observation. I'm sure every village boy knew that apples fall only down. Anyway, he noticed it and the law of gravity was propounded. The apple fell down, that's true. He noticed that, wonderful. But he did not notice the whole big tree has grown up against the gravity. You never noticed that?
True.
Isn't it?
True.
The rain is falling down,
Right.
that's fine.
Right.
But how did the cloud get up there first? So, there is gravity and there is grace. You are only available to gravity as long as your experience of life is limited to the physicality of who you are. If your experience of life transcends the limitations of the physical, then you become available to grace. Suddenly you function like magic. Other people think you're magic, but you know, you're beginning to access and become available and become receptive to a different dimension of life. And for everybody it is wide open right now. Nobody is better equipped than another person. When it comes to outside realities, all of us are differently capable. What you can do, somebody else cannot do, what someone else can do, you cannot do, this is how it is. But when it comes to inner possibilities, all of us, every one of us, every human being is equally capable. You are not any less capable than a Buddha or a Jesus or anybody for that matter. Now you are looking at me in a certain awe because of the way I live. You are not less capable than me when it comes to inner realities. When it comes to the outside, we are differently capable. For sure you can't drive like me.
For sure.
But you could meditate like me, nothing to stop you. You can be joyful like me, you can be blissful like me, nothing to stop you. But outside physical capabilities are different, they're acquired. But inner capabilities, all of us have to the same extent. Unfortunately, never explored, never accessed.